Hey everyone, and welcome to part 9 of our pick scraper tutorial. And in this tutorial we are going to go ahead and create navigation buttons. And what they're going to do is, if you remember in our past tutorials, we scrape the links off of our web page first, and then those links are stored in memory into a list. And so we're going to create these navigation buttons. I'm just going to put them down here, and this will allow us to navigate through our list of URLs, so we can actually go to those URLs and display a picture for each one in the list. And that'll show us our back navigation, and now we'll do the same thing with our other one, except we'll make a greater than sign. Okay, so now we have our back and forward. Let's go ahead and anchor those. So I'm going to go ahead and sibling that to the edit search text. And then we'll slide that over about 30. And then we'll just line it up with the top of the search text field, and then center it, and that looks pretty good. So now let's do that with our forward button. So I'll go ahead and anchor this guy to our back button, but you know what, first let's name it, because right now it's just button button something, button 2 probably, yeah. So let's go ahead and call this BTN back, short for button back. And then we'll do the same for the forward one, so we'll just make it BTN forward. There we go. Makes it easier to identify. Now let's go back in here and go ahead and anchor it. So we're going to anchor this to our button back. And then slide it out maybe 30. That looks good. And then do the same for the top, anchoring. Anchor the button back and center it. There we go. That looks pretty reasonable. Cool. Okay, so now we have our forward and backwards buttons, and they are anchored there to the search. Our search field. So what we want to do is, when we navigate through that button, it's going to go to a random pick function, but this is or not a random pick, but to a pick function. And so we're going to take this get random pick function, and we're just going to copy this, and we're going to make a copy of this function, but we're going to take out the random features in it. So it's just grabbing the next picture in our list. We'll just go ahead and remove random out of this new function. So we'll just call it getPick, because that's all it's going to do really. And instead of taking a string list here as an argument, we're going to have it take a string. It'll be a URL. And so this is going to process a URL that's in our string list. And so it's going to do the same thing as the other one. We're just removing the stuff we don't need, like the index, integer, and we don't need the URL because it's already in our argument, so we'll take that out. And let's see. Okay, we can remove this whole section here from URL down to the end there. Actually down to where it shows links replace, where we're assigning a value to it. So we can remove all of that. This is all related to our randomizing. So we'll take that out of there. And everything else looks pretty good. Yeah. Excellent. Now when we call this function, it should be able to just load a picture. Okay, so now let's add a click event to this button. So we'll go over here to our Events tab, hit on click, and now it's created our click event function here, or procedure. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this function from that click event. And these two guys, links and the index, we're going to have to make those public because we need to call to them from that click event. So let's take out this index here. I'm going to cut it. And what I want to do is I want to make this global because right now it's local to just this procedure. So let me cut that, and then we're going to move up towards the top of our source code here in our var section, just above implementation. And this is where our global variables are, if you remember right. And then links is also going to go in here. But instead of manually typing that out, I think I'm going to just run down here and take it out of the function. That way I don't forget to remove it. So right here it's local, our button click. So we'll just we'll cut it, take it out of there, and we'll make that global. So stick it up here. So now our links are string list, and the integer is now global, the index. Now in our function we're going to put in a check here. If links equals nil, then exit. So the reason this is in here is because links has to be instantiated, if you remember right, the string list, where it says links equals tstringlist.create. But if you're just hitting the black button and it goes directly into this event, then it doesn't exist. So we got to account for that or it'll leave an error. Now if our links count equals 0, then exit. So if our list is empty but it does exist, then don't do anything. Okay, now if IDX, which is our index, is greater than 0, which means if there's something in the list, then we're going to decrement index. Because remember, we're using our back button, so we want to go lower in our list. So if it randomly selected something at number 5, then we want it to jump down to number 4 and go there. Okay, so now the alternative, if it's greater than 0, do that. Otherwise, we want index, our INX, our index to equal links.count minus 1. Now the reason it's minus 1 is because remember count starts at 1 and index starts at 0. So we got to balance it by using the minus 1. And the purpose for having this else in here is because if we get all the way down to the first image, we want it to start over again at the very end of the list, which would be, let's say there's 20 results. So if we're going backwards through our images and we get down to 1, then we want to start over again at 20. So it just kind of keeps looping as we click through the list. Hope that makes sense. Okay, now if links.count is greater than 0, then get picks. So in other words, if we have something in our links string list, then we're going to process this function and we're going to have it load the picture at the index that we set when we click this button. And so if we go down here to get pick, then it's going to process right here where you have URL. That is going to be the URL that is passed from here, links at the index INX. And I just had to make that get pick. I had get pick, so just took that out. So let's give it a try. Little smoke test here and see if it explodes. Okay, so we'll grab a random pick, and something exploded, so let's see what's going on. 404. Okay, let's try a search term and see if it explodes. Okay, that's working. Let's try going backwards. Explosion. Okay. I think I know what's going on here. When we put in a search term and hit enter through the search bar, the search variable is going to /s/ your search term or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is. Let me scroll down here real quick. Okay, our search variable is being set to s/photos. So that's what's going on here. When we do a regular search without anything in the box, then it's still attaching that s/photos to our URL, which we don't want it to do if our search area is empty. So I forgot to add a check in there. So if edit search is equal to blank, then search is going to equal nothing. So we'll put in search equals, or is assigned to just an empty string. So we don't want that s/photos in search if we're not using it. So that was a problem. And then else we'll have search equals s/photos. So that will be our alternative. So we have an if else. If blank, then search equals blank, else search equals s/photos/search, our search term. And I forgot to put caption in there. So if edit search dot text. There we go, that's better. So if our text is null. Okay, now this should give us better results. Let's give it a try. It shouldn't explode on us this time. I'm willing to bet your paycheck on it. There we go. Much better. Now let's make sure our search is working. And I pressed enter. So let's see if a lion shows up here. And there's a lion. Wow. Okay, and now I hit my back button and I'm still getting something that's not happy there. So let's see what's going on with that. Before I do that though, I'm going to just try seeing if we can navigate backwards by doing a random pick without doing anything in the search field there. Just want to make sure the problem is universal to both issues. And it is, so that's good. Okay, I just wanted to rule out and make sure that it wasn't going to explode when you did a search, but not explode when you did just a get random pick. So that means it's got to be in here, I believe. Let me go down to our... Oh, I think I know what it is. Okay, yeah. Go down here to get pick. I just realized our URL variable. I think that's where it is. Let me just kind of take a look here. Okay, now let me put in our URL. I forgot to add that in. So it would be URL equals URL replace /download. Remember we did this in our other function? We got to replace it with blank. So download was in our URL because I didn't replace it. Actually, I deleted that out when I didn't really have to before. So now that should fix it. We just had an incorrect link there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this. Okay, and navigate backwards. And that is way better. Nice. So we went backwards and that was great. I'm going to try the same thing by just grabbing a random, well, actually just hit a random pick here and make sure that it's still working and grabbing a beach. Let me go backwards. And it should be the same. Okay, let me just do this without anything in there. So we're accessing our random pick function by default, and it should go backwards because we have our .replace in our URL in that function already. I just forgot to put it in our new one. There we go. Nice. So that takes care of that. And in our next tutorial, we're going to go ahead and add in code for the forward button, and then we're going to add some other things in there too. So remember, if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Hit that old like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on more great content. Thanks for watching.